What if the most frightening face of crime was not an adult, but a child? In the early 1990s, America watched in silence as a 6-year-old girl calmly described violent thoughts with no emotion in her eyes. The media labeled her dangerous. The internet later called her a monster. Her name was Beth Thomas. But this is not the story of a child born evil. This is the story of what extreme trauma can do to a developing mind and how healing is still possible. Beth Thomas was born in the United States in the early 1980s. Little is publicly known about her earliest years, and that silence is part of the story. What experts later confirmed was that Beth experienced severe neglect and abuse during the most critical years of brain development. This was not a home where safety existed, not a place where trust was learned, not a place where a child could form emotional bonds. By the time authorities intervened, Beth had already learned one thing very well. The world was not safe. Beth and her older brother were eventually adopted by a new family. On paper, it was a hopeful ending. But inside the home, something felt wrong. Beth did not seek comfort. She did not cry when hurt. She did not respond to affection. Her parents noticed behaviors that went far beyond disobedience. She showed no empathy. She admitted to hurting animals. She expressed violent thoughts toward her brother, calmly, without anger. What terrified the adults most was not her actions, but her emotional emptiness. Doctors eventually diagnosed Beth with reactive attachment disorder, or RAD. This condition develops when a child is deprived of consistent care, safety, and emotional connection in early life. Children with RAD are not born violent. They are emotionally disconnected. They struggle to feel guilt, fear, or love because those feelings were never allowed to develop. Beth did not trust adults. She did not trust rules. She did not trust love. And without intervention, her future looked dangerous for herself and others. What terrified the adults most was not her actions, but her emotional emptiness. In the early 1990s, Beth's story reached national television through the HBO documentary Child of Rage. Viewers watched a small girl speak openly about violent urges, without tears, without emotion. The public reaction was immediate. Fear replaced understanding. Headlines implied she was beyond help. Some even suggested she was a child psychopath. What many viewers didn't realize was this: the documentary showed only fragments, not the full medical context. Beth was not being punished, she was being treated. But once the internet discovered her story, the facts became distorted. False claims spread, myths replaced truth, and a traumatized child became a legend of fear. Behind the scenes, Beth entered an intensive therapeutic program. Her life became highly structured: clear rules, clear consequences, consistent care. For the first time, Beth experienced predictability, something she had never known. Progress was not quick. There were moments of resistance, moments of emotional shutdown. But slowly, therapists noticed change. Beth began to recognize emotions, first in others, then in herself. She learned cause and effect. She learned responsibility. The most important shift was this: Beth began to feel. As Beth grew older, the cameras disappeared. There were no follow-up documentaries, no sensational interviews, and that privacy saved her. She continued therapy. She went to school. She learned how to exist in the world without fear controlling her every action. The child once described as too dangerous was no longer the same person, but the public never saw that transformation. Today, Beth Thomas lives a private adult life. According to verified information, she became a registered nurse working in neonatal care, caring for newborn babies at their most vulnerable stage. This detail is often overlooked. A woman once feared for lacking empathy now dedicates her life to protecting fragile human lives. Beth has also written about her experiences, not to seek attention, but to explain trauma from the inside. She does not deny her past, she explains it. Beth Thomas was never a murderer. She was never a 6-year-old maniac. That story exists only because fear spreads faster than facts. Her real case teaches a different lesson. Trauma can mimic evil. Neglect can rewire a brain, and early intervention can change everything. Beth Thomas did not become a criminal. She became proof. Proof that even the most damaged children are not beyond hope. The real crime in this story was not what a child felt, but what was done to her before she ever had a choice. And perhaps the most uncomfortable truth of all is this: if healing was possible for Beth Thomas, how many others were never given the chance? Beth Thomas was never a killer. She was never a monster. What the world feared was not evil, it was pain in its purest, most unhealed form. She was a child who had known nothing but fear, neglect, and abandonment. A child whose brain and heart learned to survive by shutting down, by disconnecting from emotions that others take for granted: love, empathy, guilt. And yet, the same girl, once misunderstood and feared, grew into a woman capable of care, compassion, and healing. The hands that once terrified are now the hands that save lives. Her story challenges us to reconsider what we fear. It reminds us that appearances, headlines, and first impressions are not reality. Behind every frightened or angry child, there is a story waiting to be understood, a soul waiting to be healed. Even the darkest past can give way to light. Even a life scarred by trauma can transform into a life that nurtures, protects, and inspires. Even those whom the world once shunned can become the very embodiment of hope. Perhaps the most uncomfortable truth is this: society is quick to judge, to label, to create monsters out of the misunderstood. But what if we chose compassion instead of fear? What if, instead of turning away, we reached out? Beth Thomas's journey is not just her own, it is a lesson for all of us. A lesson that trauma can be met with understanding, that brokenness does not have to define destiny, that the capacity to heal, to change, and to create light exists within every human being, even in those the world once feared most. So when we hear stories that shock, disturb, or frighten us, let us remember, there is always a deeper truth. There is always a human being behind the fear, a chance for growth, a possibility for hope. And sometimes, the most terrifying stories turn out to be the most inspiring stories of survival, resilience, and transformation. Beth Thomas is living proof that no life is beyond redemption, no child beyond care, and no soul beyond the power to heal. And if we remember only one thing from her story, let it be this: even in the shadows of despair, the human spirit can rise. Even in a world that misunderstands, there is hope. And even the most broken among us can, with love, guidance, and second chances, become a light for others.